This is the Hall Institute of Public Policy's forum. My name is Michael Rickards. I'm here with my colleague, Richard Lee, and our guest today is well-known attorney, Angela Genova. Angela, welcome.
Hi, Michael.
We're glad to have you here.
Very happy to be here. Very happy.
You are going to be an awardee given the Achievement Award by the Hall Institute at its banquet in March 18th. So we're delighted to have the opportunity really to be able to interview you a little bit about your background and some of the famous cases that you've been involved in a long and distinguished career. You began in Montclair, and you wanted to be a teacher, didn't you?
That was my plan. I had come from a family of teachers. My father was an accountant turned teacher, and he introduced my family into the world of education. And I was the fifth of 8 children, and I watched successively my 4 older sisters go into education. So it seemed like I was destined for that, and off to Montclair State, which then and now I think has one of the preeminent education programs in the state, if not the country.
Why the fall from grace? Why did you become a lawyer?
Well, you know, I was very passionate in the classroom. I student taught. I was very much prepared, but I think I got the bug for lawyering a little bit out of my activities as a student politician or student leader and some of the issues I got involved in. And I found that, at least for my personality, the classroom was a little bit restrictive in terms of what I wanted to do. And I found in myself a sense of advocacy that really didn't, that the classroom wasn't the right place for that.
What branch of law do you involved in?
Well, you know, my core practice at the start was labor and employment law, and that was actually spawned out of my interest in education. As an undergraduate at Montclair State, I was a student at a time when the faculty was first organizing as a labor union through the American Federation of Teachers. And as a student leader, it was a significant issue because much of what had been the fodder for debate in faculty governance or college governance forums was being converted into topics for collective bargaining. Being a child of the 60s, it was important to me as a student that students had a voice in discussing things like curriculum and faculty performance and the like. And as those issues found their way to the bargaining table, I became educated in and very interested in collective bargaining. That spawned in me an avid interest in labor law and labor and employment law. So that's was my targeted practice area at the start. And in my early career, that's where I made my bones as a lawyer. Probably a decade into my career, I found that I had interests and a skill set that could go beyond that practice area. Incrementally, I would say the first interest beyond labor and employment law came from election law, because I was on parallel tracks, I would suppose. I started doing election law work as part of my interest in politics. And I would say in the last 7 to 8 years, I have found that the courtroom really is the place I like to be. And as a lawyer, I found that the true skill set of a litigator is not so much the subject matter of the law, but the ability to persuade and communicate in the forum in which you do that, which is, I think, what litigators do.
Now, you've worked for a variety of governors
I've had
in
the
your
privilege
career.
of doing
How many altogether?
Well, I have always had the benefit of serving governors not as a state employee, but as a consultant or advisor. And I had my first opportunity to do that with Governor Florio. And it was in his first term, in the waning years of his first term, where he asked me to assist him in addressing concerns and issues and negotiations with our state public employees. Governor McGreevey asked me and my office to do the same thing, and Governor Cody was satisfied that we had done it competently with his prior his predecessor, Governor McGreevey, and Governor Corzine likewise turned to me and my law firm to assist the state. So we've worked with them in that context, and I've also had the benefit of working with each of those governors in my capacity as either counsel to the New Jersey Democratic Party or as counsel to their respective campaigns, which all but in the case of Governor Cody, we served as counsel to those campaigns.
Okay.
Of those governors, I was just going to ask, of those governors, which is the most accomplished in your judgment?
Unfair question,
Yeah.
but let me try to address it this way. I think each of those governors have brought different skill sets to the job. They're very different people. They have very different backgrounds and the like, and those skill sets have spawned successes in different venues. I think most recently Governor Corzine has been underestimated in his capacity to address the state's fiscal concerns. I think time will reveal, particularly going into this next budget cycle, how extraordinary Governor Corzine was in fashioning a balanced budget. Governor Cody had an extraordinary ability to interact with the legislature from where he came, and also an ability to be responsive to the public. The public genuinely liked Governor Cody, and I think continues to do so. And I think that's a testament to his capacity to exude leadership and a sense of confidence about the state. Governor McGreevey was an extraordinarily hard worker. I think the book is not yet written on his successes, and his ability to address tolls on the Parkway, his ability to initiate other changes and reforms to government. Governor McGreevey was the architect of our first pay-to-play law. You know, he's criticized for a variety of things, but history will tell the story of a governor that took the first step to true reform in pay-to-play. Governor Florio, I have a soft spot in my heart for, because he is somebody that saw in me as a young man and as a young lawyer, somebody with promise. He showed confidence in me. He's an extraordinary intellect, and was at the time, and you know, people call him a policy wonk. I always viewed him as a policy wonk with teeth. You know, he very strong-willed, firm in his resolve, forecasted many of the issues we had now, and proposed solutions to many of them that others would not necessarily embrace. He was among the first governors to speak seriously about shared services and about the effect of home rule and our diverse number of communities in the state, and how that is just dragging us down, and what remains the principal issue in our state, and that's the cost of government and who does it.
I was going to ask, you know, we state elected a new governor in November. It's going to be of different parties. I don't know if you'll have the opportunity to continue to work with the administration, but there seems to be no shortage of people offering the new governor advice. I mean, if you had the opportunity, what sort of advice would you give to Governor-elect Christie?
Well, I think Governor-elect Christie's election reflects a real sentiment of the public that they've had enough. And I think the results of this election also represent an impatience, because I think if the public paused and truly studied Governor Corzine's record and saw the incremental changes that were occurring, it may not have been the same result. By the same token, Governor-elect Christie's election reflects a level of impatience that will, I think, can provoke in public officials knee-jerk reactions to problem solving. Because the public is impatient, there's a tendency on the part of public officials to act swifter, and the public demands swiftness. I don't know that all these problems can be resolved swiftly. I think many of these problems were long-term in their creation and are long-term in their solution. So the advice I would give Governor Christie is to pause, slow down, think through the solutions. I wouldn't call it pandering, because I don't think that's what he's doing, but be measured in your responses to the public demand. Be mindful of them, be aware of them, clearly be responsive to them, but go slow enough that the solutions that you ultimately arrive upon are implemented in a fashion that don't cause more problems for us.
Yeah.